But with regards to the book, totally enjoyed the journey of reading it. And when it got to the end, it was like, it just kind of, it ended and I turned over and I'm like, oh, I just wanted to keep going on, but I realised that there comes a point where there needs to be a conclusion. But I think I mentioned on one of the earlier messages to you that there were just a number of, it was once I sat down to read each chapter, and usually if I kind of got up and stretched my legs and then sat down, there's like this kind of like 30 seconds to a minute where you're kind of settling and getting your breath and getting still and everything like that. But after a while, the flow of it just, for me to get into the pace and the story of it, it was just beautiful to see. And there were many times where I really connected with what different characters were going through, like any one of the main well, I suppose they're all main characters, but any one of the, if they were feeling something, if they were reminiscing about something. And just also the parts of the romance of, well, the three main couples as well, those romances, and especially the exchange between Jazz and Andrew, and that I don't know why, and maybe this was in your mind at the time, but when I was picturing the way that they got married, or the whole surprise of it, what I was picturing was, obviously she's red haired, but I just had a vision of Carolyn Bessette Kennedy, and that kind of simplicity of just a simple sheath dress, and just somebody who is just very elegant and can wear a simple piece of good fabric, which is actually very difficult to wear. It takes a certain kind of woman to be able to carry that off. And the funny, I don't know why this is, but I have sometimes when I'm on Facebook and I just, I'm in the middle of things, or it keeps throwing me up in the video bit all these little clips of say yes to the dress, which is interesting to watch, because a lot of the time it's actually not really just about the dress, it's about the dynamic of the people that go there and that person's issue. So I'm watching it on many levels, but one thing I always notice is the majority of these dresses are like overpriced and hideous, and there's this real desire for the majority of women to want to look like a princess. It's like they're still trapped in this little girl Cinderella zone thing of like, oh, I want to, I want to look like a princess. I can't think of anything more nauseating than a grown woman who wants to do that. And if a man would be appreciative of, that's what's going through a woman's head, but society has told us to expect that, happily ever after, X, Y, and all that kind of stuff. But it was nice to just kind of to narrate that exchange, but also the exchange with the other couples as well, Veronica and Lisa. And interesting how also you had brought in your own personal experience as well into the characters. I suppose it's, when you're writing so many characters, you then are going to bring in personal experience and people that and infuse your characters with their characteristics. And it's great to know your process. I've truly enjoyed the whole process of just narrating that book, and I'll really look forward to like the next part of the process. And even the studio that I was going to, like everyone knew, all the different receptionists, because most of the days there was someone different, and they were very, very nice. I just went there and got a small room that was quiet, and even when I left today, the guy that was there was just asking me questions and saying how his experiences of doing that thing. So yeah, thank you for choosing me. I've just really enjoyed it, and they are interesting times right now, and interesting times for me to like decide that I'm gonna shift, but I really feel that this has to be done soon. Speak soon.
Chapter 1 is included here in audio form for you to get a sense of the beginning of this journey. The hardback and paperback edition are available on Amazon and through bookstores. I hope you enjoy this.
Chapter 1. The shadow of a man appeared. He stepped from the cave along a rocky path deep within the Himalayan mountains. The snow loomed across the horizon in stark contrast with the deep azure sky. He paused to watch a majestic clouded snow leopard, observing him from the entrance of a nearby cave. Their eyes locked. What an exquisite creature, he thought, watching her as she lay down on the rocks unaffected by his presence. His features looked different than in the past, and his unadorned clothes gave him the appearance of an ordinary man, which would prevent him from being sought out or recognized by those who couldn't see from the eyes of the soul. His presence, the energy that surrounded him, would be apparent to those filled with goodness. He was tall and handsome, but not one who would attract undue attention. His skin bore witness to a life that involved a great deal of time in the outdoors. Although the sun and the elements had weathered his hands, children reached for them desiring to be touched, and wild creatures did not scatter in his presence but grazed peacefully next to him as he sat in prayer. It was difficult to tell his nationality, allowing him the ability to fit in, melting unnoticed into a multitude of countries like a chameleon. He had hoped that humanity would have arrived at the point of acceptance that would allow far more intermixed relationships, as they were all from the same source. Far too many people defined and judged others by their appearance, yet the diversity was what gave this planet its character and beauty. With well-defined arms outstretched towards the vastness of snow-covered peaks, the man filled his lungs with the crisp air and called out, "It is time." It was time. How long this earth venture would continue to last was left up to his beloved Creator. He came only as a humble servant to assist those who would be the new leaders, those who had contributed to protecting the earth, and most importantly the commandment, love your neighbour as thyself. This commandment included all of creation, humans, beasts, birds in the sky, all creatures were the breath of God, and the blessed earth herself. These were the ones who would be able to move with divine guidance and grace into the new world without the dark turmoil that would destroy the possibility of human life on the planet for 800,000 years. Even those high officials and those of extreme wealth who had built the underground cities for the elite out of their greed and disregard for those they were meant to serve would not survive. Breathing deeply, he drank in the crisp air. He stood in awe at God's creative genius. Standing in the shadow of Mount Everest, between Pamuri and Amadablam, his eyes sparkled as he took in the splendour of the Himalaya Karakoram mountain ranges. Amazing. This beauty is God's grace. This is God. He was aware that the best time to trek was either pre-monsoon or post-monsoon, and that time was now. The journey down the mountain to Kathmandu would be the simple part. It was the trek from Kathmandu to Cairo that would take some time. He knew that the journey was also part of the adventure. He would visit places that he loved, meet with a council of 9 and touch people who had led lives of kindness and those who had not. He loved them all regardless of their beliefs, Christian, Buddhist, Jewish, Hindu, Islamic, atheist, it didn't matter. All were brothers and sisters, all were cut from the same cloth of the Creator. Even those living in greed's dark shadows still had a chance if they took immediate and dramatic actions to alter their lives. His thoughts focused on many who had walked with him over 20 centuries before. This reunion would be the first time since that unprecedented moment in history that they would be together on Earth all at the same time. At present, many of their lives were coming undone, or so they thought. A gentle smile filled his face, and his eyes shone like sparks of sunlight off water. Don't be troubled, all is well. You will find me. He had a great deal of territory to cover before meeting his beloved friends. Although he knew that none of them distinctly remembered, he was confident that they would be there when he arrived. Their dreams had already begun. Chapter 2. Come, we need to get him out of Jerusalem now, his companion urgently yelled. But Jake knew there was nothing he could do or say to convince his determined friend to leave. Stand quietly with me until he finishes. Don't draw more attention to the situation. Jake's eyes were intensely focused on the commanding figure below, standing in the centre of the mosaic stone floor, speaking to those who had gathered, as rays of light pierced through the opening between the two columns and lit the floor below his feet. Jake's gaze broke and wandered to a small group of women who sat on the massive stone steps to the right of the speaker and who were intensely focused on his every word.
Thanks for listening to Chapter 1 and part of Chapter 2. Please go to angelicachristydesign.com, or you can go to Amazon or order it through Barnes & Noble. Take care. Many blessings. Thanks.